Hey everyone, welcome back to Comic Culture. My name is Nick. Let's review these books we picked up on March 31st. Just got done with them. Late night review. Let's get into it. Alright guys, let's start off the review by going over Flash number 768. So, wasn't a giant fan of this one. I feel like a lot happened, but yet nothing happened. And what I mean by that is we came out of Infinite Frontier issue 0, or the lead-in issue, hearing that Barry was kind of giving over, or relieving the mantle of the Flash and giving it over to Wally West. And that was kind of the assumption going forward. Well, that's not exactly how this issue plays out. And then we find out that the Speed Force is actually broken in some kind of way, and so it has a reaction to Barry and Wally when they enter it, supposedly for the last time. And so now we're trying to figure out where Wally is. He's flipping around different timelines and whatnot, so it's not heading in the direction I thought it was going to head in. And then the art really didn't do it for me either. The characters are kind of silhouetted in this like halo glow, so not really into it. Let me know what you guys think of it, and maybe I'll read the next one, but I was just expecting more out of this particular Flash run, especially since it's the new Infinite Frontier introduction for the Flash, but not too impressed with this one so far. But what'd you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So the next one, we're going to move over to Marvel, and this is Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill number 1. So I really like this particular issue. I'm not a Beta Ray Bill expert at all. In fact, the only thing I know about Beta Ray Bill is what I learned in the most recent Thor run. So I know that Stormbreakers broke during their little battle before the whole Donald Blake arc. And I know he's back at Asgard just kind of hanging out. So in this particular issue, they go over his origin story a little bit, which was, I appreciated it at least, because I had no idea he was part of a race that had some incoming threat, and then he was chosen by his people to kind of be enhanced, right? So I had no idea, so that gave me a little bit of context for the character. But in this particular story, he's getting the Asgardians ready for a particular battle, and it's Fin Fang Foom, I think his name is, the giant dragon that we haven't seen for 15 years. And he's got a null symbiote attached to him. So they kind of get their butts kicked, and then predictable story happens after that. It's Thor comes down, saves the day, and Bill's pissed, right? So he has to kind of confront Thor on that, and he decides that he's going to take off, find Odin, get a new weapon, and start, heading out on his own adventures, because he's sick and tired of Thor stealing the thunder all the time. So I liked it. Good introduction to the character for me, and it sets up the subsequent story. But can we talk about the art real quick in this? But so Daniel Warren Johnson does the art, and he did the story, and it's kind of that rushed, sketchy art and coloring, which I can appreciate in certain books, and I heard it didn't quite work for the Wonder Woman character, but it was still something different and unique, and so that was appreciated at least. For this one, I thought it was okay, but there was a few panels that looked a little comic-y, and what I mean by that is there's a few expressions that are on some people's faces during the battle scenes in particular that reminded me of like the Where's Waldo books. If you ever look at the other characters that are like, falling off of buildings, or they're doing something stupid, they have this weird expression on their face, and that's exactly what that looks like to me. And so I felt like it kind of took away from the story just a little bit. But we'll see what he does with the other issues. I will continue reading this one for sure. But what I thought would be really interesting is if he did like a Army of Darkness kind of book, because that's kind of horror plus comedy at the same time. So I think that grittiness would work really well with that particular book, and I think that would be awesome to see that in the future. So yeah, you never know. But Beta Ray Bill number 1, not a bad start. Art was a little sketchy. Story was fast paced and good for a new Beta Ray Bill fan like myself. So I liked it. All right, we got Marvel. Continuing with Marvel, we have X-Men Legend number 2. So this one was a pure nostalgia pickup, like I mentioned in my poll video, and I don't remember the backstory with all these characters, and I don't remember these specific comics or kind of following from the 90s. And I still had a good time reading it because it brought back a lot of memories of reading old Uncanny X-Men. So if you have a really good memory of all these different characters and relationships and factions and different groups of people that they're all referencing in these books, I think you're going to have a really good time, because I had a good time and I don't remember any of that stuff, or I never read it to begin with. So I would get it just to kind of take a trip down memory lane and enjoy the art, enjoy the story, enjoy the characters and how they're interacting. So I liked it. I'll probably continue reading it. I might read it digitally and not physically or physical. So yeah, X-Men Legends number 2, not too bad. Right. So we have a bunch of different independent books, and I will start with Spawn, number 316. So Spawn 316 is actually the second Spawn book as of late that I've read. I remember reading the first couple dozen or so, maybe a couple years ago, and then I fell off. So this is my attempt to jump back into Spawn. And so this is issue 2 for me to come back in, and I was totally lost. So where we are in the story right now is our main Spawn is teamed up with Medieval Spawn, and they're fighting Omega Spawn. Omega Spawn is gigantic. Medieval Spawn and regular Spawn are normal size, and they're trading licks, and they're both sides are pretty bruised up. And at one point we are introduced to a new Spawn, and this is Plague Spawn. And I wish I can get the Plague Spawn cover, because that guy was intense. So we don't really quite know if he's a good guy or a bad guy yet. He is attacking Omega Spawn at this point, so that's good for our heroes. But one thing I remember, or one thing I was reminded of while reading Spawn, was all the cheesy narration that is baked into these panels. And what I mean by that is, you'll have a battle scene, and there'll be a narration bubble that pops up, and it'll say something like, "And Spawn's never seen a power like this before, and he's in shock and awe." And then, it'll continue the battle, and then it'll break in again with something else that's kind of cheesy. So I kind of forgot about that when reading Spawn. So it was kind of interesting to relearn that again. But definitely a book that you just kind of turn your brain off and you just read it because the art's really good and the story is not bad. And so it's always fun to see what kind of crazy stuff that Spawn can do and the other Spawns out there. And with Spawn Universe coming, it's not bad to kind of catch up and figure out what's going on in the story here. So yeah, Spawn 316, not a bad read. I'll continue getting them. All right, so let's go over to Crossover. Number 5, Sir Kate's. So Crossover's been great. It hasn't been a book that's been completely blowing me away, but I've enjoyed every single issue so far. I appreciate the art and all the callbacks to previous Image books out there, like Madman, and most recently God Country. Big God Country fan. So we have the sword from God Country right now, and now our heroes are using that to break inside of the bubble to reunite the family. There was a great cliffhanger at the end that it kind of follows the old motif of theater, where if you show the rifle above the fireplace, you better use the rifle at some point. Well, we were actually shown, a rifle, quote unquote, earlier in a couple issues ago, and there's a tease of that being used in this next coming issue, I think. So the team's kind of splitting up, taking on villains and trying to complete their mission right now. And it's been a fun ride. I like all the little references to other superheroes. And, I appreciate the story so far and the different connections to different Image books. So we'll see where it goes. I'm having fun with it. All right. And so we have Shadecraft number 1. New book from Image. I liked it. I think I'll start with what I didn't like first. So what I didn't like was the pacing and that the way that they're kind of organizing the story so far. So what they kind of done is the first 2 pages, exactly what the problem is, which is kind of odd. I would much rather kind of know the characters first and figure them out and figure out, what's the family situation like, what's the friend situation like, and then we kind of get teases as to what the problem is going to be, what the ultimate issue is. But we get that right away, and then it builds throughout the story, throughout the issue here. And then at the end, there's a big reveal, there's a big kind of climax at the end, which is great. But I feel like the ordering of those events and then the pacing of the book overall was just a little bit off. What redeems it is the concept and the art and the coloring. So it's very dark, it's very haunting, and I do like the art and the coloring in this book especially. It kind of reminded me of Red Mother, and I don't know why, but I get a little bit of a Red Mother vibe from this book. I mean, maybe it's just the fact that it's a female essentially being haunted by some kind of shadowy figure, and this is literally her shadow that's kind of haunting her. So it's been a fun book so far. A little bit of pacing issue, a little bit of order of story issue, but the art, the concept, and the coloring make up for it, I think. So I'm looking forward to the subsequent issues. Maybe that will be resolved. But yeah, that's what I thought about Shadecraft #1. Not bad, but it felt a little bit rushed. All right, and we're going to end with one of my favorite books, Department of Truth. This is issue #7, I believe. Yep. So Department of Truth #7, and I didn't notice when I got the book, there's actually a little bit of there's a UFO with the different beams down there. And then I remember reading that this was going to be the Men in Black issue. So it's not necessarily the Men in Black that we know. It's not Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith going around neuralizing everybody. But it is a reference to Men in Black. So this is a kind of a callback issue again. But it's not as bad as issue #6. I think issue #6 lost a lot of people because it was just too far back and too weird, and maybe it was hard to follow, and the art was a little bit different, so it threw people off. This particular issue follows our main characters again. It kind of picks up where Oswald was left in that library to kind of just consume all those books that he was supposed to. He meets a new character, and that character walks around with a tinfoil hat. And so he kind of asks what the hat's about, and he talks about the Men in Black and his experience with the Men in Black and the different stories he's heard. So after he hears that, Oswald's extremely curious to know more, and he wants to rip apart the library to know more about these aliens or a secret organization that's trying to keep these aliens down. So I really love this issue, and it just kind of cements my love for Department of Truth. All right, so that's what I read, and that's what I thought. What did you guys think? Did you read any of these books? Have you yet to read them yet? Did you get anything else that you think I should have gotten? Let me know in the comments below. And when you're in the comments below, on your way up, just hit that subscribe button, the like button, and that bell notification, because it lets you know when I put out a new video. I appreciate you watching. Thanks again.